Our body is perfectly set up to detox without the need to do juice cleanses and those wild detoxes.
One that I feel like we really need to talk about today are just the misinformation that exists when it comes to this industry.
Oh, this is like my pet hate, is that carbs are the enemy.
People don't realize how important carbs are for just like memory, for brain function.
The minute you start restricting is when your brain starts going, no, but I want that. People want results quick. That then becomes unsustainable and it just sets them up for failure. It's just that theory of all or nothing and trying to do too much at once.
If you're hungry, you should just eat. And I think that that's important, is that you listen to your body and then you're able to eat when your body actually needs it.
Also, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Oh yeah, it probably.
You know, good things take time.
Welcome back to another episode on Chewing This. I'm Amal, your host, and I've got the amazing Greer here with me again, my co-host.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yes, it's so good to have you back. It's actually really nice to have someone that I can bounce off. Not that I've done a lot of solo episodes. I've only done one or two. But it's just so nice to just sit here and have a chat.
Yeah.
And there are so many topics that we can discuss when it comes to the world of like nutrition and wellness and health. But one that I feel like we really need to talk about today are just the misinformation that exists when it comes to this industry. What do you think is the most persuasive dieting myth that needs debunking?
Oh, this is like my pet hate, is that carbs are the enemy. It drives me up the wall. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, carbs are like my best friend.
Right,
They're probably my favorite macronutrient, although protein should be my favorite.
Yeah.
They are my favorite macronutrient. Look, I think the one thing that I would love to get across in this is that you don't need to eat 1,200 calories in order to lose weight. And it honestly baffles me that that still exists today, that people still think that they need to be on extremely low calorie diets in order to achieve weight loss, when in fact it is like far more detrimental to be doing that than to just be eating a normal amount of calories. So tell me, why are carbs not the enemy then?
Carbs are the basis of what we need for energy for our body. So it's the preferred fuel source for your body, for your brain function, for your heart function, your nervous system. Basically any process, we need carbohydrates to fuel that. So carbohydrates are just basically chains of sugar, and they're what our body is easily able to break down to use as this fuel source. So not only that, they contain fiber. They help you feel fuller for longer. They help your digestion. They help your gut health. They help with regulating cholesterol. Like, they are the true gods of the macronutrient world in what they can do.
I actually have a funny story to tell you. So back in like my clean eating days when I was competing, so this was before I came across like the whole balanced nutrition, everything in moderation, I was on like a super low calorie, low carb diet. So it was very low carb. And that's the reason why it was low calories, because it was essentially one whole macronutrient wiped out. I was prepping with someone and they were on a very similar diet. Again, doesn't make sense because we're two different people. Why are we eating the same thing? Mind blowing. But we were practicing in the mirror and we were like doing our posing and whatever. And it was time to go and we were looking everywhere for the phone. Like we're like, oh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Couldn't find my phone. It was in my hand the whole time. And I just like, people don't realize how important carbs are for just like memory, for brain function. Like it is like, it just blows my mind when people are like, I'm not eating carbs. Carbs are not good. I'm just going to exclude them. But I firsthand experienced what it's like to be on a low carb diet, and it is not fun.
Not fun at all.
You become wacky. Like you just like, you become very tired. Like you start becoming low in energy. You start becoming forgetful. Your memory is affected. Your productivity is affected because you just like can't concentrate.
Absolutely.
It's just such an like understated macronutrient, which I think is like so important. But why do you think that this concept of carbs are the enemy came about? Like, what do you think it is about them that this essentially has come up?
Look, there's different types of carbohydrates, right? So there's complex carbohydrates and then there's simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are harder to break down. The simple carbohydrates are very easy to break down, and they're also very easy to eat. So you're thinking sugars and highly processed forms of carbohydrate like white bread, white pasta, that sort of thing. So when you're having those sorts of carbohydrates, it's very easy to overeat them, and it's very easy to go into a calorie surplus, and meaning then it's very easy to gain weight. It also means that you use up that energy really quickly, so then you get hungry quickly again, and then you have to eat again. And what tends to happen is you tend to have a really high and then a really, really low. So you grab for something that's going to give you quick energy again, meaning those simple carbohydrates. And that's where they've kind of got that bad name from and that bad rap. And there is a place for simple carbohydrates in the diet. It's just that balancing it out with the complex carbohydrates means that your blood sugar's not all over the place and you're not going through that, gosh, I just need some energy quickly to get me out of that feeling really horrible and low and hungry. So I think really simply that's where it's come from.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also I think because carbohydrates actually can cause like fluid retention. So the more carbs that you eat, the more fluid that your body actually holds. And I think that naturally people just think, I'm losing weight really quick on a low carb diet because they've cut their carbs. But really a lot of it comes down to like the fluid retention and reducing that, because the amount of carbs that you're having is a lot less. So that probably is another reason as to why people think carbs are the enemy, because you might hold more fluid, so your weight might go up slightly because you're eating more carbs, and because of all of the other reasons that you've stated. So what's the difference between like a simple and a complex carb?
Yep. So simple is basically, it's simple, like very small chains of sugars that are come together. So it means that your body can break it down really easily. So you got like things like sugar, honey, lollies, cakes.
All the yummy things.
Yeah, right. And the things that your brain kind of goes, oh, these taste so good and I want more of them, because it's giving you that high, because it's giving you really quick energy. The complex carbohydrates are more like your whole grain pastas, rolled oats, sweet potato, pumpkins, all that sort of thing. They're more complex carbohydrate. It takes longer for your body to break them down, but it just means that as your body's breaking them down, it's kind of like they're breaking chains of those sugars off slowly and slowly releasing that to your body, so that you've got this prolonged source of energy rather than this like little snippet that sends your blood sugar up. It's got a like very steady, slow way of releasing it, and you've kind of got this energy that goes like this rather than that high and low.
So talking about like eliminating, because that's what people do, is that they cut carbs out of their diets. What are your thoughts on skipping meals for weight loss?
Another one that I don't love. Look, I think if you're looking at something for like breakfast, for example, I'm not someone who likes to skip breakfast, because I do a lot of training in the morning and I feel I need it. I need it to fuel me. Some people aren't doing that sort of stuff in the morning, and I think that is okay. They're potentially pushing out their first meal till 11 or 12 o'clock. If that works for you and you just don't like to have breakfast in the morning, it doesn't work within the way your lifestyle is, I think that's okay. But when you're purely skipping for the sake of trying to lose weight, I don't think that's a good idea. And if you're exercising or training, then I think that's even more detrimental to it. And basically what it just ends up doing is making you super hungry, and then you tend to reach for foods that are more calorie dense, are those more simple carbohydrates as well, to try and get your fill for that next meal. It just doesn't create a healthy relationship with food. And I think when you're looking at kind of minimizing the window of what you're eating in, really essentially it is just trying to eat in a calorie deficit.
Oh, yeah,
so
absolutely.
If you can eat in a calorie deficit over the whole day, it's essentially the same thing, and you're not cranky or super hungry all the time.
Yeah, I think that it just creates really bad habits, because you're essentially trying to suppress your hunger because you're like, oh, I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to skip a meal, which essentially, like you said, is cutting calories. And then you tend to opt for more caffeine. You have like more sugar-free beverages. You try and like suppress it. Like, I'm not going to eat, so I'm just going to have like some sort of beverage to like suppress that feeling of hunger. And then when you do have the opportunity to eat, you're eating far more than what your body normally would. And so you start to go in this cycle of like this, I'm going to skip a meal and then I'm going to eat more and skip a meal and eat more. But really you can achieve the same result by putting yourself in a healthy calorie deficit that's not too aggressive, that allows you to eat over a period, like over the whole day. And I also think that if you're hungry, you should just eat.
Yes, I agree.
And I think a lot of people don't actually do that. Like they don't listen to the cues of their body. Are you hungry? Are you full? Are you thirsty? Where like people just like eat because they just eat, or they don't eat and skip it because they're trying to achieve like weight loss or whatever. But really, like, I'm feeling hungry now. It's 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I ate at 11 a.m. I actually had 2 meals. I had a smoothie and then like I had a piece of steak for lunch.
Love it.
But like I'm probably going to have like another lunch when I get home at like 2:30 because I'm hungry. I wouldn't naturally do that, but I just feel really hungry right now. And I think that that's important, is that you listen to your body and then you're able to eat when your body actually needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the minute you start restricting is when your brain starts going, no, but I want that. And so then you start to do things that aren't just normal behavior. And it's almost like that manic kind of like, I need to have this now, so I'm going to overeat it because I might not get it because they might take it away from me mentality. So, yeah, I really think listening to your body, and it's not always easy when you've come from a lifetime of being told, no, you have to eat lunch now and you can't eat anything before dinner and that sort of thing. You know, there's a lot of things that come into it with what we've been taught over our lifetime, but starting to understand those cues of hunger and listening to it and going, okay, actually I am hungry, and if I need to eat my dinner at 4 o'clock, I'm going to eat my dinner at 4 o'clock.
I have dinner so early. I have dinner at 5:30 every single day.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And some people find it so weird, but it just like, I
It
love
works
it.
for you.
It works for me.
Yeah.
And then like it just also ensures that I can sleep at night because like my body's not trying to digest my food.
Yeah.
So I actually can go to sleep because it's not doing all this work trying to break it down. So yeah, I'm a big 5 p.m. dinner time.
Yeah,
That's
look,
normal.
I think if that works for you, I think you really just have to listen to what works for you and what works for your lifestyle as well, and within your family as well if you've got kids and that sort of thing. It all becomes different. So it's really just listening to you and what you need.
Oh yeah, don't ever invite me for an 8 p.m. dinner because I won't.
Neither.
Shan't be attending.
No.
It's not a thing. So why do you think people restrict themselves? Like, why do you think that when we embark on a weight loss journey, because a lot of it is to do with weight loss, why is the automatic instinct to be like, okay, restrict?
I think people want results quick. And they go, oh, if I cut down, so, you know, I've been told I should eat 1,800 calories for weight loss. Then if I cut it down to 1,200 and just restrict all these things, then I can get there faster. But what they don't understand is that then becomes unsustainable, and it just sets them up for failure, and it sets them up to make mistakes and blow that out. And then they end up kind of coming off that too quickly, and then they can't sustain that 1,200 calories that they're trying to achieve. So it's just that kind of theory of all or nothing and trying to do too much at once. So I think I can put it down to that, like tortoise and the hare. It's like, you know, slow and steady and just make small changes, and it's going to be more beneficial in the long run than the person that's just trying to get everything done really, really quick and at a faster pace. It's not necessarily the healthiest or the most kind of economical way to do it either.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that people don't realize, but there's a concept called metabolic adaptation. So if you are, you are supposed to be eating 1,800 calories to achieve a calorie deficit, which is like a really healthy amount for you. It's just a slight calorie deficit. And then you put yourself on 1,200 calories because you're like you said, I'm going to get there a lot quicker, so I'm just going to cut my calories more. One, it's so detrimental to your health, your hormones, and that's a whole nother conversation. But what happens is that your body starts to adapt to that number. So your body then, your metabolism starts to adapt to that number. So at the point of plateau, where do you go from 1,200 calories?
Yeah.
So you lose the initial weight. A lot of it will be water weight, and then you might lose some fat. But then you stop. And you stop progressing because your body needs to change because it's adapted to that amount. what do you drop to 1,100 and then to 1,000 and then to 900 and to 800?
Yeah.
Like it is so unsustainable because there's no room to move. So you think that it makes logical sense because you're like, oh, I can lose weight quicker. But in theory, no, because you don't really have any room to move from there. So the higher that you start, the more room you have in order to make those changes and make those adjustments when you start to see your progress slowing down, which I think is so important. And on the topic of restriction, so what do you think of juice cleansers and detoxes and all that?
Yeah, look, I mean, juice cleansers and detoxes, our body is perfectly set up to detox without the need without the need to do juice cleansers and those wild detoxes. We've got a liver, we've got skin, and these are our detox mechanisms that are working daily to do this. Now, I do have a theory that if you do feel like you've come back from holidays and you've been, overeating and over drinking and you're just like, I just need a break, great. Strip it back and go back to basics. Eat your protein, eat an array of vegetables, eat lots of plants. I think that's your kind of detox pathway, but sit within the calories and the macros that you need. I think that's really all you need to do is just lighten things up so that you're giving your body the nutrients that are supporting the detox pathways in your body. Don't take away protein, first and foremost. Protein is what helps your body to detoxify. So when you're doing a juice cleanse, you're not even having protein. You're literally having sugars because it's taken the fiber out. You don't have any protein in there. So eat some fruit, eat lots of vegetables, eat protein and get lots of plants and legumes and fiber in there.
Well said.
Yes.
That was well said. I have nothing to add to that.
I'm so passionate about it.
Wow, you are very passionate. I'm like, wow, she's just nailed it. I actually don't have anything to add.
I may have had this rant to a few friends before.
Oh, it is mind-blowing. Over my time, like in my whole wellness journey, which has been over 15 years, the amount of times that I've seen or witnessed people go on juice cleansers and they still exist today.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it is like so mind-blowing. How can you live off liquids? And a lot of these people do a lot of exercise.
Yeah.
And I just think, how do you do it? One, how are you giving your body the protein in order to achieve muscle repair and recovery, which is so important. But also, how do you have the energy to fuel your workout? I would call in sick to work.
Yeah.
I'd get in trouble by my boss because I will not be rocking up to work if I was on a juice cleanse. Let me tell you that.
I think if I heard you were doing a juice cleanse, I'd be getting cranky at you.
What are you doing? It's just mind-blowing. That just makes me feel so sad. Look, it's obvious that there is a lot of misinformation that exists out there. Right, particularly with how accessible information is right now on Instagram, TikTok. Every time I go on Instagram, every time I go on TikTok, there's a new trend. People are suggesting something else that's worked. Did you hear about Ozempic and
yes,
all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So how do you filter through all of this information and I guess pick the accurate information and know what is true and what's not true, what's backed by science, what's not, and what to do?
Yeah, look, I think podcasts are a great place to start, but looking at people that are qualified in their chosen field. And if you're wanting to hear nutrition advice, listen to a qualified nutritionist, a qualified dietitian, someone that is an expert in their field. Because if you're just listening to someone that's done an online course for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, they haven't put 3 and 4 years into their degree and they don't have that understanding of the science as well. So they tend to be getting a lot of their information off other people on the internet who are just sprouting their ideals and or what they're trying to sell. So really looking to the experts, and there is so many great people out there in our industry that know what they're talking about. So, yeah, that's my advice, is to look to people that are qualified.
Yeah, there's a lot of people online that have tried something and then will preach until the cows come home, right? Because they're like, this worked for me, so it's going to work for you. But I just think you know what you like and don't like. And I think that it's okay to experiment and it's okay to do trial and error, but don't just do something because someone that you like the way that they look is doing something. And I think that's the biggest problem. And I think that also learn to block things on your feed as well. Unfollow and block. So if there are things that are coming up that are unsustainable, not healthy, and are just like don't align with like your values or whatever, just like block it, because you keep looking at that piece of information, you're going to continue getting served with that piece of information. And then all of a sudden you're like, yep, I need to do Ozempic, whatever it's called, because everyone on my feed is recommending Ozempic. But really it's because you've gone down this downward spiral of looking at Ozempic. I can't even say Ozempic.
It's because it's stupid.
It's stupid. And so I think it's really important that you learn to like block and unfollow. But again, like, who is this person that's making this recommendation? What is their experience? What is their background? And where does that source come from? Because it's so easy to be like, this works, but is there science to back that?
Yeah.
Which I think is like really important.
Yeah, question it. Just question everything you hear. And I think that's the key to kind of understanding whether there is actually something behind it. And, you know, I think also if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Oh, yeah, it probably.
You know, good things take time.
Yeah.
And educating yourself on good, healthy eating, it takes time.
And building good habits.
Yeah.
That is most important, is just building good habits. That's
Absolutely.
sustainable and balance and everything in moderation.
Agreed.
I think that's the end of this topic.
Great. Thank you for
I
having
hope that
me.
we've busted a few myths
I hope
in this
so.
conversation, and our listeners got a lot out of this. But thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Amal. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you loved this as much as I loved recording it, and I'll see you at the next one.